Hey everybody, it's Commander Cloud. Welcome back to another Smite patch notes video. Today we're looking at the mid-season update notes. Big update for the middle of the season. Not gonna waste any time, get right into it. I usually hide this. Yep. There we go. A little bit cleaner for the video. Skins, just quickly scroll through them. I'm not going to spend any time talking about those because that's not the content we're about for these. New bots for customs. Great. Here's a bunch of bugs that I don't really care about. They actually fixed a lot of these were sound issues, which is whatever. I don't really care about that. So we're gonna probably just skip over these. And this needed to be done though. It fixed an issue where Sandstorm would continue damaging targets after they left the area. That was pretty dumb. I believe Merlin's Blizzard had the same issue, which is really stupid. They continue dealing damage even if you're not in range. Completely dumb. I'm gonna skip Project Olympus because they're never... Players no longer get preview text, but just... Okay. I guess that's cool, but I still haven't done anything practical with game functionality, optimization, or network, which I thought the game optimization was what this was initially about. I say this every time because I have to point out the fact that the game continues to function poorly, and yet they just keep on making mainly HUD changes and things like that that don't really impact the functionality of the game, and so, you know, it's just... Anyway, a few things about ranked. New rank split, we knew that, of course. For this split, we have reduced the intensity of the MMR soft reset by half. Players should find their MMR values to be significantly closer to their end of split MMR when the new split begins. Positives and negatives to that. If you finish with a higher MMR, it'll be higher for you to move back up early in the split. But positives of it's not going to feel like as intense of a climb to get back to where you were, which I guess is fine. Reduce the queue time from 9 to 7 minutes. This is for Conquest. Ranked is in a healthier state than it has been in a while, showing MMR and changes to the progression. Pacing seem to be going well. We can likely reduce queue time now. We will watch this and experiment with incremental reductions until we find the point where it causes too much of a strain on the matchmaker. Expect fluctuation over the coming weeks as we run those experiments. I don't know why it takes so long for Conquest queues anyway. 9 minutes. 7 is still quite a while for a queue time, man. But, you know, they have to make sure that the matchmaking is working properly. It doesn't, anyway. People still get into the wrong games all the time. Have players that are too low getting in with higher players still, even though they have played with the MMR ceilings. But whatever. Way more bans in ranked modes. All modes get 10 bans now. That's 5 per side, which is good if you think about it. I mean, it seems like a lot of bans, but if you think about it, we're over 100 gods. This is about 10% of the gods in the game, equal to that many bans. So it's not like you're being significantly limited by the number of bans. No, there's nothing wrong with that. In Joust and Conquest, you might think that, but it's not really a big deal. It's a pretty small number of gods when you think about it. And some other gods getting banned might encourage people to do some new things, experiment, you know. That's always great for the game. Because it gets pretty stale when you're picking the same few gods every time. Just because it's the best thing out there. Let's just do the boring, obvious thing. Whatever, that's a totally different conversation. Competitive play, by that they mean pro, will also be using this new ban system, but options will exist in customs to use previous and lower count ban systems. Quicker draft lobbies, decreased pick time, decreased ban time, increased bank time. You might have to read about this one. A common issue for players attempting to play ranked is the time investment for portions of the game that are not actual gameplay. Not only are we tackling that from the queue time perspective, but also from how long it takes to draft. We are heavily reducing the amount of time for each individual pick and ban while increasing the bank time to help communicate key information. This should increase the urgency to pick while ensuring everyone has enough time to make smart drafting decisions. 15, that's 45 versus 60 seconds. That's a 25% reduction in draft time. About 10 seconds back on bank time if you're slow, but that'll speed things up. Also encourages people to do their homework and know what they should be picking and banning, and not sitting there on their hands trying to figure out what they're going to do next. Anyway, new item tree, Arthurian, the whatever, just a bunch of notes. I guess they were like just bored or something. I don't know what the point of all this is. Maybe I will read this. Kicking off the mid-season balance, we are bringing in a whole new tree of items. The Arthurian item tree is themed around Gem of Fate, which is crafted into a weapon of legend, empowering the wielder at just the right moment. By Arthurian theme, it just means it's broken. Duh. Have you seen Merlin and King Arthur, bro? Each item has a powerful passive effect that it activates when the holder finishes casting their ultimate ability and focuses on pushing classes that can wield it into specific playstyles. Given how different each god can work with these items, we are excited to see the level of experimentation. Gem of Fate is 900, 10% cooldown reduction. It does basically nothing. Hilarious how useless the tier 1 is. Tier 2 Honed Edge. By the way, these are all class specific. This is a hunter. Item cost 1600, 10% CDR, 30 physical power, Princess Staff. It's a magical item, 1600, 10% CDR, 50 power. The Night Shield, 25 physical protection, 25 magical protection. Fail Not is the Bow of Tristan, said to never miss. This item focuses on high power, high cooldown, and critical strike. While normally not a standard pairing, the item can bridge the gap for ability hunters while providing a heavy crit strike bonus to standard basic attack hunters. This, however, is not only a selfish buff, as a critical strike bonus applies to your allies as well. Great, everybody gets crit. Let's have Naja in every comp. Everyone's just going to play Naja support. If you 2800 gold, at least it's expensive, 20% CDR, 50 power, 25% crit strike. After you finish casting your ultimate ability, your next ability cast within 5 seconds that damages an enemy god, marks them, increasing the chance they will be critically struck by 15% for 10 seconds. Jesus. It can only trigger once every 45 seconds. Every time you ult, basically. Cool. Nausea support, man. Oh, there'll be other things about why this is also stupid, given some of the other item changes. We'll get to that in a bit. Arendite builds from home edge. Alright, this is an offensive item. I forgot about that one. Unless the one's available to everyone, but we're not there yet. Arendite is the sword of Lancelot. Assassins and warriors often engage with their ultimates and seek to continue the pressure by attacking the backline. Arendite enables this playstyle, not only revealing enemies in a large area, but granting bonus speed and damage for successfully chasing down targets. Warrior assassin only, 2600, 10% CDR, 55, physical power. Passive, after casting your ultimate, reveal all enemies within 120 feet of you. All moving towards revealed targets, you gain 30% increased movement speed. When a revealed enemy takes damage from you for the first time, they take an additional 40 plus 30% of your physical power. I don't know why. It's got a built-in Hydra's thing. Enemies are revealed for 8 seconds. It can trigger once every 45 seconds. This one's pretty silly. Now this says after casting ultimate ability. I think it has to be on cooldown for you to get this, so I don't think you can actually use Guan Yu's ult and then you get a movement speed buff and just, you know, go crazy. That probably doesn't work like that, but this is hilarious for like every god. Not every god, some gods have kind of boring ultimate abilities. For Hercules, this isn't as great because his ult makes him stationary. So he has to do it and then chase you if he wants to use the movement buff. This is a really great item for Robin. Also, no, it's not. No, Kali would. You'd have to wait for the ult to finish and then it goes on cooldown. Kali wouldn't get as much functionality out of this. And some gods, this is pretty hilarious. I don't know. I want to test this one out. I think this one's funny. Anyway, Staff of Mridden. Staff of Mridden is the focus of the most powerful wizard. Using this focus, mages and guardians will be able to do the impossible: double cast a standard ability. Each god can use this in slightly different ways, from doubling down on damage to bringing extra crowd control. Whatever the use case, Staff of Mridden will help bring the magic. Mages Guardians only, 2800 gold, plus 10% cooldown reduction, 100 magical power. After casting your ultimate ability, your next non-ultimate ability cast within the next 10 seconds will have no cooldown, but will only hit for 70% of its normal damage and heal for 70% of its normal healing, assuming you have lifesteal or it heals. Can trigger once every 45 seconds. So we talk about this, but then no cooldown. Now think about the scenario of Kronos. You know what happens. He uses his abilities, stuff. He gets in trouble, he ults. But you know, his ult is a reset. So it puts all your abilities off cooldown. So you can use your abilities and then ult. Staff of Mridden procs. And then you can use your combo twice after that. Or you can just hit someone with time stop and double hit him with a time rift. Or wait, you can't do that. You'd have to use time rift first. I don't know. It's stupid. Kronos gets several ability casts. You just, I mean, you just delete people. And if you think about Merlin, oh Merlin, if you Gem of ISO, get near somebody, ult, press 3 twice. Oh, they're dead because Merlin already does a completely ridiculous amount of damage. Not like a 30% less damage is going to make a big difference. You're going to just shred everybody to death. Did no one think about this? Is this what we're doing? Anyway, yeah. So they'll figure out real quick this is a terrible item. What I think would be better would be when you ult, all abilities that are on cooldown are reset. And then you can use them again. But you have to have them on cooldown already. See, that would be fine. Because then you'd have to think about how you want to do it when you want to ult, blah blah. Because for gods of like Poseidon, that's a no-brainer, right? Because you're gonna use your whirlpool first anyway, before you crack it most of the time, unless you're being set up by a teammate. But he's still encouraged to use his abilities first. And then it's fine. It's fine, but no, let's get completely stupid. Almost like the thing with Hera, yeah, get polymorphed twice, that's fun too. Anyway, Pridwin. Built from Knight's Shield. Pridwin is the shield of King Arthur. Pridwin is the only item available to all classes and encourage gods to be frontline for their team and get into the thick of combat. That's always fun. Scaling based on your god's protections, this item synergizes with heavy defensive builds and allows you to convert those defenses into a powerful offensive explosion. Kapow. Available to all classes, 2400 gold, 20% CDR, 45 physical and magical protection. Delicious. After casting your ultimate ability, you gain a large shield equal to your protections for 5 seconds. When this shield breaks, either by timing out or being depleted, it explodes and deals magical damage equal to 50% of the shield's health, and slowing targets for 25% for 3 seconds. Ooh, that's fun. Can only trigger once every 45 seconds. So if you're tanky as heck, you can get up to, what's the cap, 315 prods? Yeah, but you probably won't hit, you can't hit both of them. You can only hit one or the other by special protections, but like you could get above 200. Is it equal to all of your protections? So if you had 200 physical and magical, you would get 400 shield. To mean it would do 200 magical damage. Ew. That's kind of stupid. It's a lot if it counts on both kinds of protection. That's stupid, dude. It'll do what? I hope this can get mitigated, because that's stupid to just get the free damage. It's like you're Arthur and you ult somebody and it's like they're already basically dead, and then you know, let's do more damage on top of that for nothing, for free. You ulted. Oh, cool. I don't know. And also, blah blah, there's finally a physical counterpart to Pestilence, which is cheaper than Pestilence? Wait, I don't know. Check 20, 50, 60 physical protection, 100 health, 250 mana, 15 MP5. Okay, it gives you more stats than Pestilence does. I don't think that's fair. Enemy gods within 55 units have their healing reduced by 25%. This does not stack with Pestilence. So if you got magical and physical you want to protect against, you'll have to build both. But you're probably not anyway, because then you get this and that frees you up to build something like Bulwark or Genji's earlier, you know. Which might end up being better because you have different build options now. If you have a physical opponent that you need to anti-heal, you can just get this and you're good. I mean, you're not really concerned with what their magicals are doing until later because, you know, solo theories, you don't rotate all that often until late, blah blah blah. Whatever. Demonic Grip increased cost from 2150 to 2300, so you can't just brain dead build this item too quickly. Just get stuff more on par with its physical counterpart. Executioner. Hasten Ring increased cost from 2300 to 2700. That is significant. And increased magical power to go along with that, because that would be kind of unfair if this was just 400 gold more. The effect of removing the movement speed downside on basic attacks known as haste is very powerful. Hasten Ring and Hasten Katana providing this for cheap creates specific balance problems, resulting in break cases for gods that can rush it too quickly. Soul. Hasten Ring is seeing a shift, becoming significantly more expensive with a power boost to match. So yeah, that was an annoying thing with Soul. Soul could build this really early and that's just stupid. I just don't like that god though, not that she was a good pick anyway. Kronos used this really well, and that's pretty annoying actually because he gets movement speed from his 2 also. Early Hasten Ring was like, I kind of wish it was 65 power, not 70. Okay, that's not that big of a difference, but feels like that to me. Reduce magical power per stack from 6 to 4, increase base magical power from 135 to 145. Why? That's a net, that's not a change. This doesn't make it less effective. Failed to address the core concern when properly managing the stacks. This item becomes very potent. The downside of losing the stacks is too great. How many stacks does it get? 5? So if that's, and we took away 10 and added 10. What does this do then? This change doesn't do anything. What? It's the same amount of power. Okay, let me do math. 5 stacks with 6 power is 30, so 165. It was 20, 165. What are they trying to do? This doesn't do anything. It's the same exact power. It does not change the potency of the item. Why are they so stupid? Who did the math on this? Oh my god. Suffering Sphere of Desolation passive change from 1 to 2 seconds. I don't remember what it does. Who cares? E-Staff, decreased cost from 2600 to 2500. They just want people to build this. Increased max health, stolen from 5 to 6%. It's better than Soul Reaver. I think that's how it works. Hold on. This is a bug. Just give it a second. Yep. There we go. We're gonna check it real quick. I want to see how it actually applies the damage. Whenever you damage an enemy god with an ability, you steal 8% max as well as 5% max health from the target. So yeah, this item is just also weapons every 15 seconds. So that the item's just better than Soul Reaver. Why would you build Soul Reaver? You do more health damage. Because this is triggered more often and it doesn't, and it's a flat number. It doesn't have a scaling effect based on the total health. What? Reduced cost from 2150 to 2100. They just want to round the number, I guess. Increased health. I don't know why. It's a good item. That's stupid. Increased cost from 23 to 2500. Same reasoning as this. They don't want it done too early. Sorry if it's decreased power because people are building it too much and it needs more of a downside. Increased attack speed from 20% to 25%. Okay, here we are. We're back to what I said earlier about this being an issue based on other item changes. They've added attack speed to these 2 items for no reason. That basically means you get your attack speed faster and then you can just build straight power. And then, oh wait, I have this and I get extra crit chance, so you take all of your health from an auto and you're just dead because I can build this and this. I can build this, XC, Trans, Kins, and then that's all I need, and then you're dead because What, you wanted to think about what you were doing playing an ADC? Oh, there's no reason to do that. Why bother? I want to see how they justify this. Ninja Tabi's similarly struggled to be unique in its identity. Why? It's still too niche in its application and saw little... What the frick? How many drugs have you guys been doing? In season 5, this was like all any hunter built, I think. If I might be wrong about that, but I seem to remember attack speed being a big deal. I don't know. I don't know why they just... Did they not think about this? Let's let's add this item in the game. But first, let's think about how other items might affect the usability of this item. But no, we're not thinking about item synergy at all. We're just... Well, this item needs to have a better identity. This item needs to be built more often. Forget how it interacts with everything else. That's not important. It's not important that I get 25% crit chance and then 15% crit chance when I ult. And then I have more attack speed and fewer items, so I have a ton of power and enough attack speed. And then you're just gone because... Oh, I pressed 4. Cost decrease. Whatever, no one cares about this item. Decrease cost on this. This is a horrible idea, and I hate that. I don't know why. Hey, it's already a good item. The team quickly responded to these concerns with the cost nerf, but as the season has progressed, Cabal has seen little use. It's because Transcendence is too big of a deal, man. Everyone wants to build Trans, and then they just ignore this item, because why would you do that when you can just build Xe and Trans? Resell from 150 to 200, although this is a better item early because it's a less cost and it probably gives you more damage. Well, it makes you box better than any other item does early. But increased health on Runic, I don't know why, that's silly. Increased health on this too. Decreased cost, I don't know what the point of these. That's so tiny of an amount though. Like, why are we making it 2350? Why can't it be a round number? You reduce cost from 24 to 23. Increased health. Passive duration increase. Why are they buffing all these defensive items? And then increased relic cooldown reduction from 30 to 40 seconds. We just buff tank items for no reason. Why are these getting buffed? Allow players to feel it. Oh god, let me tell you, you feel it when Shell has 120 second, when Shell and, what else would you use? Blink? Let's see, I think Shell and Horrific have 120 second cooldown, so that would bring them to 90 with the regular item. And then Blink is, what, 150? So it's a... So, I mean, like, I feel like that's not a significant of a difference, and they already had enough, it already had enough impact already, I think, personally, that it was good where it was, but okay. Gods. Amazon has been all the buzz recently. He's just strong and people are using him a lot, whatever, they're nerfing him. Bees are nerfed. Swarm decreased base damage from 60 to 280 down to 60 to 260, so less late game, less scaling, so it's not as strong late, etc. That's fun. Onher's getting buffs. He's not played very often, I guess, in Conquest. I think that's the deal here, but I don't know why they're giving him, like at rank 1, it's twice as much. You don't have it until you're like level 4, but that's still a lot to have early. At least it's the same late game though, so reduce pre-fire to match with the animation, whatever, that's fine. Quality of life. Increase the range on that too, I don't know why. Added targeted effects while channeling this ability. I guess they thought 70 was better than 65 because 65 is kind of a weird number. Most of that's quality changes. I don't think this is that big of a thing, whatever. I don't know why you're helping people line this up. It fires like 8 shots in quick succession. Like, it's not too hard to line up, really. I don't think an FX is gonna make a target effect is gonna make that any better. I think that's just annoying. Apollo is getting ready to tour his way across the battleground. Apollo has struggled to bring consistent damage to fights. His inconsistency was largely attributed to his passive, which had high variance based on how many stacks of Audacity he has at the start. I guess Audacity, each damaging ability, now it's 2 stacks of Audacity for each enemy god hit. Excuse me. The move still adds 1 stack of Audacity for hitting enemy minions. For each enemy got a hit, so if you hit 3 people, you get 6 stacks. That's a lot, and that's stupid and broken. Moves increase duration of the buff and debuff from 2 to 3 seconds. You know, personally, I've never really noticed the movement and debuff very much. Doesn't seem very good, but whatever. So you can get Audacity quick, bro. Okay. It's a lot of talking. It's rough on my throat. Ares. Searing Flesh. This ability now deals magical damage equal to 5% max health protect to non-boss minions at all ranks. Still deals 3% health to gods. This is... I mean, I like this because it's better. It does more damage to minions now. So now he doesn't feel so useless when he's trying to fight minions. Poor guy. Chalk. I want to see their justification. Smite's premier Mayan action hero has been struggling lately. Chalk is well known as a consistent solo laner but never a true playmaker. We are making one significant change to Chalk's ultimate to make sure his teamfight impact is meaningful. Enemies will have a much harder time fleeing from him, with Stormcall knocking enemies straight up. Increase cooldown from 15 to 13 seconds. This thing already does like, what, 350 base if you count the bonus damage. Actually, wait, it's 270 at rank 5 plus 50%. I'm bad at math. Is that 85? So I was right, it does about 350 total. Gives him protections. And now the cooldown's lower. I think that's a little bit much. That ability does a lot of things, and having the longer cooldown was fine. I feel like it justified that, and then the knockback. I mean, you guys know how I feel about Chalk. I mean, Chalk is my best god, you know. And I've always felt he was a lot better than people said he was, because the amount of damage he's capable of doing is incredibly high. He's got a lot of sustain that has an attack speed slow and a movement slow, because why not? That's hilarious. Changes do anything big. I think the main problem people have is they're not sure how to play him. He's very much a isolate a single target type of god and kill them. Like, so his team fight gets a little awkward unless you put your 3 down on top of your X. Things like that. I mean, this means now you can more effectively combo with his ult if you're a mage or something like that. Because you can hit directly on your target. They're not gonna get pushed backwards anymore by this. So that's good. It helps his synergy, which I think is good. His ability to team fight was fine, honestly. He can fight several targets at once. He's hard to kill. He's very annoying. That's the main thing with him. We'll see what it does. It'll certainly make people think about picking him more often, which is always great. Erling Shin, spot weakness, decreased base damage from 25 to 85, 25 up to 85 down to 15 to 75. You got to think more about what you're going to do and how you're going to build, because you're not getting as much from this anymore. I don't think it's too significant. It is 10 power across the board, or 10 base damage across the board, which is good, but I still think he's a high DPS god. Even with that change, that's still how he's going to function. And Fafnir's too strong and things like that. High value of coerce, blah blah. Coerce decreased attack speed buff from 15 to 35% down to 10 to 30%. Decreased bonus damage from 5 to 25% down to 4 to 20%. Just don't want this to be as potent and good for objective secure. Curse strength, increased width of this ability from 6 to 7, which is cool. Easier to hit. He's like that. Fafnir's always been pretty strong in Conquest and Joust, so this will bring him down a little bit. Freya, decreased range of base damage from 16 to 60 down to 1 to 40. Somebody, I think, messed up the math here. Also, why isn't this 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 instead? That would have been a little more manageable. Increased range scaling from 10 to 15%. I don't know why they're doing that. They're just pushing her into the ground for no reason when she's already not that good. I mean, they're saying she's one of the best mage ADCs in bullying out hunters, but if you're a good hunter player, like, you don't lose to Freya. You just don't right now. She doesn't have the burst to scare you, and her DPS is not at the same level as a hunter. So I don't know why they're nerfing her right now. Isis is getting a bunch of things because no one really plays her and she's kind of weird. That's just all I'm going to say. Also, better teamfight utility, blah blah blah. Increased funeral rites, that's your passive. Increased range from 30 to 40 units. Spirit Ball, you can now refire this ability at any point after firing it. This includes while under the effects of CC and while dead. So you can say remove the post fire so you can instantly pop it. I think that's what it'll do, if I'm not wrong about that. So that's good. Scylla's 2 works this way. Granted, Spirit Ball is sometimes a little better in certain situations, but it makes sense for this change to exist. Dispel Magic. Dispel Magic no longer provides a boost to magical protection and instead provides a shield to Isis and nearby allies. This shield is applied within 40 units of Isis for the dispelled target. Shield health 90 to 250 plus 40% increased potency for each additional target, up to 80% for 3 gods hit. Duration remains unchanged. This is good, gives her a little bit more survivability. She always felt kind of vulnerable. I mean, her ult was pretty good, but if you got anti-heal, she was pretty easy to take down. I just want her to have a little bit more survivability here. Circle protection increased the base healing from 60 to 110 to 190. Increase the mitigations obtained from 15 to 20% to 25% at all ranks. This again, going back, team fight utility. This is to make this a better utility item for your whole team to use. And they want the item to be more team fight oriented, and it always has. I mean, this ability to be team fight oriented, which it really always has been. It's never been a great single target ability, but I think that's fair. She's so underplayed that I think that's fine. Merlin. Eclipse, decreased magical power scaling of the initial hit from 60 to 55%. Decreased magical power scaling on tick damage from 10 to 8%. Great, always reducing his damage to increase the time to deploy of this ability from 0.5 to 0.7 seconds. Blizzard. Elemental Mastery, increased cooldown from 28 to 20 to 32 to 20 because this does a lot of damage for no reason. It's also a stance switch, but the damage part I think is stupid, and this helps from not having that as early, but it's the same late game, which is when it's the most potent, so I don't know that it really matters. They also still haven't nerfed the cooldown of the one in his ice stance. I don't know why. That thing is, you can cast that thing every 3 seconds, and it's stupid. But they won't change it. I don't know why. Really quick and easy way to proc item effects and things like that, and it's, I just don't know. It should be, they should double the cooldown on that thing. And Nemesis. For a while we have addressed a few abilities that have multiple levels of scaling. Retribution scaled on damage, reflect, healing, and the total health shield, which already served as a cap on how affect any of the previous effective, I think is the word we wanted. By making damage, reflect, and healing more consistent, this ability should feel better across the board. Retribution increased damage, reflect from 30 to 50% of damage received to 50% at all ranks. Increased healing from 80 to 100% of damage received to 100% at all ranks. This is kind of silly. That's a lot of stuff for her to get on every rank of this ability. Granted, people aren't playing her a lot right now. I thought she was still pretty strong, personally, but okay. She's a good counter to mages that don't have a lot of heavy CC. Or their crowd control is purely soft CC. Particularly, my brain. I've been at this for a while. I think I'm just getting tired of reading all this. Speaking of Merlin, since he's topical, Nemesis is a pretty good pick against him because he doesn't have a way to break her shield. It's pretty hilarious. Universal. I think it's universal ring toss is what it's supposed to be, but whatever. Increased damage reduction of subsequent hits on the same target from 25 to 35%. Decreased slow from 25 to 12.5%. This effect can now stack up to 2 times. They just don't want it to be as potent off of the single hit. Gotta hit it more than once now. But subsequent hits also do less damage than they did before. Big Nike rework because no one's really playing her that much, and they just want her to be fun choice. You expect the most when you got in the game to be popular choice. It's weird. Is it that way because the few times she's picked it's been good? That's weird. She's one of the least played gods in the game. Major issues we heard from players is that she didn't feel like she brought an impact to a fight. Additionally, an ability solely dedicated to augmenting another can sometimes make her feel like she is lacking a full kit. When looking at her kit, the passive is a major contributor to incredible win rate, but it isn't something players feel. So we are nerfing her passive across the board, and we want to give her impactful feeling power without breaking her balance is something that must be done. With that done, we can reinvest the power into her core abilities with a full rework of plan of action. All abilities will now benefit from their plan of action version as their base form with a few numerical adjustments. Plan of action is being replaced with a new ability, Barrier Formation. Barrier Formation gives Nike the ability to lead the charge for her team and protect herself and allies from incoming attacks. Enemy range base attacks are absorbed by her, and enemies that get too close will be repelled away and dealt damage when this effect ends, either by refiring or timing out. The barrier will collapse and deal damage in a large area. This ability also solidifies Nike's role as a frontline warrior who takes one for the team to ensure victory. To victory, passive bonus power decrease from 4 to 8% to 1 to 3%. Bonus movement speed decrease from 2 to 6% down to 1 to 2%. Ren, this ability now always fires 3 times. Wow. Plan of action rework. Barrier Formation, it's now called. Nike conjures a protective barrier in front of her that blocks ranged basic attacks. While channeling the barrier, Nike's movement and rotation are limited. Enemies who get near the barrier are damaged and knocked back at any point. Nike can refire the ability to collapse the barrier and deal damage to enemies in a larger area in front of her at any point. That's fun. Channels for up to 6 seconds. She moves 50% slower while channeling. Refire damage single hit at the end of an ability. 65 up to 285 plus 50% of your physical power. That's a lot of damage. Pulse damage on shield 10 up to 30 plus 5% of your physical power per hit plus a knockback effect. So if you do it right on top of someone and then hit that, that's a pretty decent amount of damage. 15 in all ranks. Mana cost 60 to 80. Valiant Leap, this ability now always travels at faster speed, so it doesn't feel useless anymore. Sentinel of Zeus, this ability no longer goes on cooldown if Nike dies during the warm-up time. She gains shield immediately. Increased shield health amount from 20 to 40% of max health to 30 to 50% of max health. But you do not get the augmented shield from Plane of Action anymore. So this will be less than that, but more than the original base was. So this is a pretty big change. I saw some people say this is a nerf, and that's crap. This is a massive buff, and if you think otherwise, you just do not understand how the game works, or you've never played Nike. I'll waste 3 times. I'm not wasting an ability to do this first, and then I get another ability that gives me shield and does this much damage when it's refire. Plus that. This jump isn't useless. I can confirm it better. And now it's like I just get shield. Oh wait, but then remember, you also get, wait for it. Arendite, if you want it, but it would make sense. You do this, you get more movement speed, and then you just run at people because you're Nike, whatever. And oh wait, they're slowed too because her ult has slow too. So, oh boy, exciting. So yeah, it's a huge buff. Odin, Raven Shout, decreased cooldown from 15 seconds to 15 down to 11 seconds at max rank. This got Odin's kind of sad. He doesn't do a lot. You know, he doesn't do a lot. Mainly it's this jump ult. And he usually has to use this and his jump at the same time to get use out of it, but you can dodge that, so it's like, I just want him to feel like he can do more if he doesn't have all his tools available, so he's not a completely useless character. Ult Run fixed a bug where the damage fall off did not affect the magical power scaling of this ability. Increased base damage per shot. It's overflowing divinity, by the way. Increased base damage per shot from 30 to 70 to 35 to 95. The increased magical power scaling per shot 10 to 15%. Hitting the same enemy with each shot now deals 20% less damage per shot. Increase from 10%. Decreased minimum damage that each shot can do from 20% of total damage to 10. This will cause shots to more quickly decay and damage while lowering the lowest damage they can deal. The projectiles now start randomizing the hit location from the second projectile, increase from the fifth. So this doesn't have as much effectiveness at the top. That's all it is, because they didn't want this ability to just basically be a instant shred, you're dead thing. Shred and you're dead. Yeah, that's a term. We'll copyright that. Astral Barrage shifted the damage each successive shot does from 50 to 100% to 70, 85 to 100%. So I guess it feels like you're getting more if you actually hit a shot. How about this? How about you just get better with your aim and then hit them all? Reduce damage from 200 to 600 plus 60% to 180 to 540 plus 55% of your physical power. Nerf that so you're not as rewarded as you could have been, because now it has less base damage, but it keeps the total damage pretty close if you hit all of them. Calder. It's Calder. It's Scotty. Just kidding. It's two gods. Two gods. We're not talking about it. I hate this game. Calder has 0 HP. Scotty gains 10% increased physical power. Increase Calder's hit point regen from 7 to 5 seconds. I don't know why. If Calder's not... If you're dumb and improperly use Calder and make him take too many hits, let's just give you 10% more power because you're a moron and you can't play the character right. That's all that does. This is interesting. A snowstorm surrounds Scotty as she chooses location for Calder to attack. If Calder is too far, he will leap there. Upon reaching location, a snowstorm will also surround Calder. Upon reaching the location, the initial hit of either snowstorm roots enemies in the area and Calder is restored to full health. I think this actually makes it slightly less effective because he doesn't have it immediately, so you're not taking the damage. It's immediate. I don't know, it's a little bit odd. It's not really a rework, that's just a consistency change. Because it didn't make sense for him to channel it without a target. I don't know. Thor, this is fun. We will read this change. Thor is the god of thunder, and in this update we hope to make that title more fitting. The major goals for these design changes are to give Thor a more distinct identity among assassins, improve his kit functionality, and add some more of his core themes to his ultimate ability. Berserker Barrage was previously a higher cooldown and longer channel, making it unclear when it should be used and difficult to use properly. It has been reworked to be a quick and snappy 3-part hit with a low cooldown. Being in Thor's face for too long can quickly turn into a bad situation because he's got a big freaking hammer. And Volodon is also gaining new components, Thunder and Lightning. Ooh. Or Thunder and Lightning, bleh. Be a little more commanding there. I could have said that in a much better fashion because that hurt my throat. Ow. After landing from his ultimate, Mjolnir will become infused with lightning, causing any damage it deals to arc lightning to nearby targets. All damage, by the way, including your other abilities. Hilarious. This not only helps in single target situations, but rewards Thor for diving directly into the enemy team, causing mayhem. Which his passive encourages you to do. Mjolnir's attunement. Fixed an issue where players at max range would be hit by the initial hit, but not the return hit. Berserker Barrage rework. Thor spins his hammer around him, dealing damage to enemies in front of him up to 3 times and those behind him up to 2 times. The final swing deals extra damage. Thor is immune to knockup for the duration. Reduced cooldown from 11 to 8 seconds. Reduced mana cost 65 to 85 down to 55 to 75. Damage per hit changed from 20 to 100 plus 45% of physical power to 30 up to 110 plus 40%. Final damage swing 45 up to 125 plus 60%. Fun. Anvil of Dawn, new component after Thor lands from his ultimate. By the way, the landing damage has not changed. After Thor lands from his ultimate, his hammer Mjolnir is infused with lightning for 6 seconds. During this buff state, each of his basic attacks and abilities chain lightning to nearby enemy gods, damaging them with each hit. Initial target 20 to 60 plus 15% of your physical power per chain lightning. Chain target 10 to 30 plus 7.5 of your physical power per chain hit. That is when it leaps to another target from your initial target. And by the way, this will also proc it, as the notes up here said. Thoth, every time an enemy god is hit by this ability, Hieroglyphic Assault, by the way, forgot to say that, every time you're hit by this ability, the ability's cooldown is reduced by 1 second. This can only proc once per ability fire. Reduce damage per shot from 45 to 125, plus 25% to 40 to 120 plus 20%. Hitting an enemy with this ability increases the damage they take from each subsequent shot by 20%. Maybe we should read this. I think we've all learned a lot about balance from the God of Knowledge. Thoth has to be purposefully undertuned to meet community perception expectations, and it has taken quite a while for that mindset to change. Players now seem to be open to the idea of buffing him, and we plan to do that by focusing on his core goal, rewarding skill shots. Thoth will now deal less damage per shot on his primary damage ability, but this damage will ramp up if he continues to successfully hit enemies. This should reduce his possibly frustrating poke potential, while also rewarding the Thoth players who commit to mastering the god. More damage if you hit a target with subsequent hits. I think it has to be the same target, if I'm getting the right idea from this. If you hit multiple targets, you'll deal less damage. There you go. Robin decreased cooldown from 18 to 16 seconds on 10-hand Shadow Fist, because it's his primary CC and they want to help the consistency. And then finally, Big Daddy Zeus. Add a text to show duration of charges. That's helpful, because you kind of had to guess before. It would never tell you. After this ability detonate charge, new component of this ability is used. There is now a delay time of 0.3 seconds before the enemy is hit with the damage. So if you're really quick with your fingers, you can Aegis before it hits you. This is slightly longer than the window you get, I think, for Naja ult. That's interesting. I feel like it's still the same thing of you just wait for them to Aegis. Because it's pretty tough to see his hand going up and then be able to hit the Aegis in that amount of time. It's really pretty tough to read. Anyway, with that being said, everybody, we are at the end of the mid-season patch notes today. Thanks everybody for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment down below if you want. Talk about the new patch. Talk about what you like. Talk about what you don't like about it. Talk about the completely broken items being introduced to the game for no reason. As always, check the helpful links down in the description below, and I will see you guys later for some more Smite. Have a good one. And that didn't end because I gotta hit the button apparently. My hotkey's not working. See you guys.